welcome to a new edition of our show, Money Means Business. As we always say, and business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. There is a lot to talk about and lots of developments taking place on the local scene in Egypt. But what we're talking about is medicine, drugs, drugs control, the lack of some drugs in the market. How is the hike in the price of the dollar affecting the industry of drugs and medicines? This is what we're going to be talking about. And we have with us our guests, Professor Mohammed Raouf Hamid, National Organization of Professor of Pharmacology and the National Organization for Drug Control and Research. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And we do have also Dr. Ahmed Zaghloul, member of the Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industries. Thank you, sir, for being with us. So, I don't know really how to start, but then, we've been talking, since some time, but more now with the hike of the price of the dollar, of lack of drugs in the market. How is it affecting what's happening with the economy that changes drugs and let's say, the drugs in the market, to the distribution of some drugs, the prices of drugs, and so on and so forth?
I think it's natural that if the value of the Egyptian pound is lowered, then for sure the prices for everything imported from outside will be increased. And as regarding drugs, not only the prices of the imported pharmaceuticals, but also the local pharmaceuticals. Why? Because most of the raw materials and excipients, these substances used to formulate the pharmaceutical product, are imported also from abroad. So this goes natural, and this is actually the love story in pharmaceuticals in Egypt. Yes.
Egypt, yes.
Since decades. Since decades. You see, I remember it quite well since the beginning of 70s.
Yes.
You see, but it is always the case. So the measure actually needs. I shall just mention two major things, yes. And I'm not going to details until we discuss more about this together. But it needs that there should be a policy how to make the pharmaceutical market regarding the prices relatively stable. You see, it needs a policy. It needs work. This is one thing. Second thing, actually, it needs to do something to have a real economic progress in the country, real national economic progress that maintains the value of the Egyptian pound constant.
Yes.
You see, yes. If you go everywhere in the world, unless the country is not competent in regarding its national economy, you will find the prices are the same always. By time, even prices can be decreased. You see, so this is a matter. It is natural, and it is a story which we all are suffering from as lay people in Egypt, and also as specialists in the drug area and the pharmaceutical area. It goes natural to happen, but the matter, no policies to decrease, you see, the risks of the lowering of the, there can be some policies.
So how do you see the economy, say, reflecting on the medicines in the market, the price of medicines, and any comments on what Dr. Mohammed Raouf said?
Let me first say that the pharmaceutical industry has a peculiar and unique situation.
Yes.
The pharmaceutical products are priced by the government. There is tarification and the pricing for the pharmaceutical product. This is nearly, together with the fuel, is the only good in the market that's priced by the government. The prices of medicine is not free. We cannot raise the prices as all the raw material cost increase or the other costs increase. We cannot raise the prices except with the permission of the government. The conflict is always between the needs of the need of the industry to adjust their economics in order to survive and to continue flourishing and thriving in the business, and the needs of the society to keep the prices of medicine in the reach of the poor people and the people who cannot afford to buy medicine at higher prices.
Yes.
The problem that actually, frankly speaking, this is not the rule of the pharmaceutical companies, especially the investment companies. This is a business. They cannot subsidize and support the society, except in a limited part. They cannot subsidize everything. The problem that the only solution for this conflict and to balance the needs of the society with the needs of the industry is to have an effective and efficient system for health insurance. This is the only way to give to offer medicines for any person in the country who ever need this medicine and who has a need for this drug to treat his disease without money at all. But there must be an efficient and effective system for health insurance. As far as we are not having this system, there will always be the problem. The problem will continue, and will, as Dr. Raouf mentioned,
Yes.
this is for decades now. We have every now and then, with every devaluation of the Egyptian pound, all the interest in the industries, including the raw material, everything, the packaging material, and even with the rising of the prices of everything, even the cost of the labor, the salaries, the cost of the electricity, the cost of water, everything is increasing. And the only thing that is fixed and cannot be increased is the price of medicine. This is an impossible situation and an impossible equation.
How is this affecting companies manufacturing drugs, like private companies doing that?
It's very difficult for this company, and I can tell you very, very frankly, this is the reason, very frankly, that the pharmaceutical industry now is suffering in a very difficult manner. We started the pharmaceutical industry in Egypt is one of the very, let's say, one of the industries that started in the early decades of the previous century, in the 30s of the previous century. But up till now, we are standing still. We are in the same place. Other countries, neighboring countries around us, like Jordan, like Israel, Saudi Arabia, these countries have already now pharmaceutical companies that's by far
Exceeding
more advanced now in doing business than the Egyptian companies, which is really a shame. And it's only, again, we should go back to the policy, the strategy of the country, the strategy of the government for how they look to this industry. If they are looking to this, and how they need to state if they need this industry to grow, to flourish, to be part of the income of the country, or just to keep supplying the market with pharmaceutical products at a lower cost, whatever the situation is. It's a dilemma, but frankly speaking, the pharmaceutical companies now is in a very difficult situation. We have most of the products are priced when the dollar was equal to about 4.2 Egyptian pounds. Nowadays, it's nearly more than double the cost.
Yes.
And the prices are still the same. We cannot do that. And the outcome of this, you find more and more products disappearing from the market because companies cannot continue producing these products with loss. And instead of raising the prices of these goods by 1 or 2 pounds in order to keep them in the market, the patients will not find them and will have to pay more than, I think more than 10 times the cost of these products by buying more expensive products, imported goods. It's very difficult.
So, we could say that the Egyptian drug, let's say, like organization, or let's say, like pharmaceutical industry is losing face-to-face to imported products, or how's it going? Because when, as I told you before that, you were just buying something. I just trust Egyptian industry. They're good and the products, but then you find that say I want calcium, I want vitamins of this sort, and then you end up by paying £900. Why? What for? I want the Egyptian equivalent. It's not going to be that expensive yet, not so cheap. Or how can we just kind of close this horrible gap. How can we just
Yeah.
work? Why is the government just lagging behind in this? Now, we came out of two revolutions. We should be just changing our old ways and our old minds. What is it that is going on?
You see, I mentioned a few minutes ago that there should be something made regarding the pharmaceuticals in general in Egypt,
Yes.
whether industry or pharmaceutical policy or drug policy.
No policy is,
drug policy. This is
is-
something should be done in this direction.
Yes.
And in another direction, the country should become more strong regarding economics in general. You see, so policies and the views and the scenarios and the strategies to bring the country stronger in economics needs to have the country stronger in industry. To be stronger in industry, you need to be stronger in technology. To be stronger in technology, you need to be stronger in research, in scientific research.
Yes.
This is the story of the whole, of everything in the country, regarding the economics in general.
Can we
If we
move
come
back
to the pharmaceuticals,
Yes, go ahead, please. Okay.
yes, if we come to the pharmaceuticals, as I mentioned to you, it is a story of the decades.
Yes.
Dr. Ahmed said the same, but he mentioned something very important, is that other countries that started the pharmaceutical industry more recent than us.
What you mentioned when you talked about
You
offline,
see,
like
Jordan,
Israel was
Saudi,
like existence, when we
Israel,
talk about industry, yes,
even Emirates, you see. But their industry is more successful, you see. And here actually we have really to reevaluate our history regarding the pharmaceutical industry. Now I'm speaking about the pharmaceutical industry only.
Okay.
You see?
Okay, we'll come back to this, re-evaluation, but we have, Dr. Osama Rostom, Medicine Manufacturing Chairman, Vice President. Hello, sir.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. So, you've been following our talk, and how do you see our medicine, or let's say, medicine manufacturing, pharmaceuticals manufacturing in Egypt doing, and what do you think is going to be the future, depending on what's going on right now?
My regards to your guest and to your viewer.
Yes.
And the manufacture of pharmaceutical industry in Egypt, which is a very well-established industry since the 1939. We have an obligation in order to serve the Egyptian people with a high-quality, safe, effective medicine at an affordable price. This is our mission and why we exist. Unfortunately, because of the policy of tariffication by the government, over the years, since 1980 and before, till now, all the tariffied products was not subject to any change in spite of the devaluation of the Egyptian currency against the dollar, which we depend on the dollar on about 90% of the component of our pharmaceutical preparation, because we import almost all the components from outside. So the current situation is very, very difficult, and we are, as the Chamber of Pharmacy, we are just making an alarm that if the government is not going to move and change this policy and allow for a slight increase in the price of the pharmaceutical industry, the number of preparation which will not exist in the market will increase. And this is not in favor of the Egyptian patient, because the patient cannot find a cheap product by 2, 3, 4 pounds, and he will be forced in order to go and buy alternative, which is higher prices, either locally manufactured or imported or smuggled from outside.
Yes.
So for the sake of the Egyptian people, we are asking the government, we are asking the Minister of Health, that they should move as quickly as possible, by tomorrow, by after tomorrow, to move prices of products which has a price of 30 Egyptian pound and less.
Yes. Dr. Osama Rossum, Medicine Manufacturing Chamber Vice President, thank you for being with us. Then you said we have to... It seems to be a very... this is a crisis, and then that can kill our... like with the import of, let's say, the existence of foreign drugs, foreign-made drugs, that... What can that lead to in our industry here? How can that affect this?
We have to understand how it happened that new industries in other neighboring countries became now much more stronger than our industry, and its exportation is multiples of the exports of our industry. This is a problem, you see. So the other countries who export more, you see, they do something. They are looking for something. They have scenarios. They have policies regarding the industry. If they export more and more, then their industry is stronger. Yes. And there is more added value to their industry. And this added value, if we in Egypt, our industry is more competitive and able to export more and more, there will be still added value inside this industry that can help this industry also to reorient itself to such a crisis. You see, in spite of the weakness of the economy of the country.
Yes.
You see, this is one thing. You see, second thing actually is that the ability of those others, although they are, you see, less in the historical experience than us, but their ability actually to react with research and development, and through research and development, is much stronger than the ability of the Egyptian industry now. Research and development is very essential in an industry that depends on high technologies.
Yes.
You see, so this is the matter. You see, the pharmaceutical factories in Egypt, in number, is much more than in other countries. In the roots and the historical background, they are the learners of the pharmaceutical industry in other countries.
Yes.
So how this happened? I tell you a story.
Exactly, conspiracy theory.
I tell you a real story.
Yes.
It happened. You see, inside the pharmaceutical syndicate at 1988, March 1988, say 1988. I was asked to give a presentation to the public of the pharmacists at that time, and in presence of the three, highest authorities regarding pharmaceutical industry. At that time, they were the president of the Hayat al-Dawa, which is pharmaceutical, yes, and the president of the Central Administration of Pharmaceutical Administration inside the Ministry of Health, and the president of the NOTCAR, National Organization for Drug Control and Research. And Dr. Ahmed, I told them, I don't know whether you remember this or you have attended this, I told them, according to my statistics and according to the literature, according to the potentials in the other countries, Egyptian industry will, within short time, will be second to the Jordan industry, pharmaceutical industry, as regarding the exportation.
It will retreat, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And after that, other countries, because now its potential is same like in many other countries,
Yes.
you see.
Yes.
And what was the response? The response here should be, let us study this. On what basis you have
Why are you
mentioned
saying
this?
that, that this is not a good
but
thing?
their response, the three high authorities, their response was, no, you are exaggerating. We are the best in all the area.
But this is, the standard answers in lots of ways.
This is the matter. We need to go outside this bad and the classical books of these traditional standards and slogans.
Is it the slogans, but then we're talking about scientists, that's
Yes.
the problem. We're talking about scientists. Why do, when they are scientists, they're not really answering on, based on facts, these are facts, and Dr. Mohammed Rauf did not bring in from, his wishful thinking that our industry would go retreat, these are facts on which he based his own assumption, let's say, his own conclusions. What is it that is, why, are they unaware, the authorities taking, they should be in control of that, or let's say, putting policies, they're not aware of that, or are they just living in a different realm? How do you see that?
it's back again to the social problems. First of all,
Or they're unfit to be in their places?
I cannot say so.
You cannot say that, but is it like there is a problem of seeing the truth?
The reality that we definitely have a problem, as I mentioned earlier, that we have a problem that we need to supply the public, the patients in Egypt, especially those who cannot afford to buy more expensive medicines. So we need to provide them with a medicine of an economic cost or low priced.
Yes.
That's the problem. The point that, again, this is a human right, that those patients should get their medicine even without paying any penny for this. The problem is that who will pay for that? For the long years until this moment, the government is putting this burden on the shoulder of the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies, this is not their role. And in reality, these are business, it's money invested in this business, and the investors need revenue, need profit. Otherwise, nobody will invest in this industry. Moreover, you will find this industry is very costly because quality of medicine needs, in order to produce product with top quality, you need to invest a lot of money. It's
very costly, but of paramount importance to the sick,
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
That's the point, that you need to invest money in the price.
Yes.
Apart from the investing for the quality, investing to get the better raw material to produce goods as equivalent to the originals, the point after that is the research and development. If you don't have money to survive, just to produce the product, how can you invest in R&D? No one will we don't have enough money to invest properly in the research and development. And moreover, the policies and the strategies of the Ministry of Health in these moments is prohibiting to any research and development, especially in the generic industry.
Can we say that the policies, can lead to the destruction of this industry, or let's say, you said second, now, it can be just...
Yeah, I'm afraid that...
Like education, it just goes
we are
down.
in the same path of the textiles industry. The pharmaceutical industry, we might find, maybe in 1988, we warned Dr. Raouf said that he warned that we will be number 2 and number 3.
Yes.
Nowadays, we are warning that the pharmaceutical industry, unless the government should take corrective action to the situation now, we will not find the Egyptian pharmaceutical industry at all. We'll be the same in similar situation to the textile industry and others. We need this support. We need the government to look to the pharmaceutical industry in a more serious way. We are really in trouble. This is really crisis. We need to have the support of the government to continue providing this country and this nation with the required medicine. And this is a strategic industry. We cannot leave it like this. I think the government should do something, and as Dr. Osama mentioned, we need it urgently. We need it now, not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow. We need it now. They have to take an action immediately. Otherwise, the consequences will not be favorable at all. Not favorable for the patients in the first outcome, not favorable for the whole nation.
Yes. Now, you warned them, and they just, let's say, they had a deaf ear, a blind eye to that when, you just talked about basic facts, and they're not wishful thinking, of something bad happening. Now, we do have, very expensive drugs in the market, lack of drugs in the market. Because of that, we have, no policies concerning that, which is really outrageous, and I don't know how to... Now, we're just talking, everybody's talking about it, and, drugs these days, the drug industry, pharmaceutical industry, the problems are just taking, there's big interest in what's happening right now. Now, we're talking, you told them, who should we address to say, as Dr. Ahmed said, right away, we should just be acting on that, not just, bringing us saying, no, everything is okay. This is the same policies and everything, like as before, not policy, but they say the old ways, everything is okay, no problem at all. There are problems, and they just refuse to see it. then how are they in their places, why are they just, following the old school, there is no school at all, it's like a failure of a school at all, when are we going to wake up with this, not to go down there and be killed totally?
You see, we have to learn from the many lessons regarding pharmaceuticals in Egypt. We have to learn. See, I tell you how.
Then the
I tell
ones
you how to learn.
Places to put the policies and just,
There is always a way to manage the crisis and a way to go to a better situation. Always there is a way. But the question, are we really seeking to go to that ways, or to these ways?
You mean the people in control of that, are they serious about,
nobody is serious. I tell you why. You see, what Dr. Osama mentioned, it should be urgently solved. And what Dr. Ahmed supported. I can say something else.
Okay.
It should be urgently solved. And this is the same statement are said 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
And nothing is happening. We're going back.
It should be solved urgently. Otherwise, the industry will not be able to produce. I tell you, if you are solving your existing problem now in this way, the problem will be repeated always. You have, as a matter of fact, to try to solve the existing problem now, but within a view to plan solving all problems for more longer terms.
Okay.
You see, this is a matter.
Yes.
I tell you, for example, regarding, because the matter is not only just the.
Are there any longer term plans?
Yes, of course.
There are?
There should be.
There should be, but
there are not.
You say, but the long term and short term. Short term, you should.
I tell you, I have really literature, many literature,
yes,
and many meetings with authorities in Egypt, the whole of these 3-4 decades, asking, for example, to have consortium among the companies cannot make research and development. They don't have enough money. But if they intend to solve their problem through forming a consortium for research and development, it means each company pays something small.
Yes.
And together they will collect a lot of money that can make a start for research and development. This is for the nation. You see, I will not mention names. But when I tried this
now, in this time, very critical times.
Every time was critical, and there was no outcome. You see, why? I tell you, 1994, when I mentioned something about the consortium, the president of the National Bank, Al-Bank Al-Ahli in Egypt, he gave me a good response. His name was Mohammed Abdulaziz, and he contacted him from his people with me, and they said, this is very important, consortium for research and development in pharmaceutical industry, according to our opinion. This is an industry that needs really research and development, and it can make added value, and the consortium is quite suitable, and we discussed, you see, and then they asked it at that time, we shall do it. We can budget a set of money that you proposed to start such a thing, but this in the beginning. We shall provide money, but in the beginning, we need 1 or 2 companies, each of them pays just $500,000 Egyptian pound. This was 1994. Only to say, to indicate that this is something important to our industry. And then we, as National Bank, we shall start.
Yes.
You see, I went, again, I shall not mention names, I went to the heads of the most important and the richest 2 companies at that time, and he said, no, we shall not do this. See, this is the matter. This is the matter.
Reasons?
One of them said, if you want to develop something, come and develop it in my company. I will not work for something national.
Yeah.
See, this is one thing. And the other one, I should not never mention names. You see, this is not
Egyptian companies.
Yes, of course. Big
not
companies.
doing anything national.
And the other one said to me, and you see, I will cut my arm. If research in pharmaceuticals could start in Egypt. You are imagining something that cannot be done. No, it can't be done. In Egypt, there are many scientists paying their time and effort in nonsense. It's just a promotion for master or doctor or assistant professor.
Yes.
And they already now, you see, are not, perhaps they are not more familiarized with the research that can bring a new product. Some of them, of course, are still working for this, but by nature, 30, 40 years absence from the real contact between research and development from one side and the industry from one side in such an industry that depends on technology, high technology, is not good. So this is one, to have consortium. Second thing, how it came that, okay, I agree and I support to have intelligent private sector in pharmaceutical industry, of course. This can make a lot if there is national policy. But at the same time, how we allow policies in Egypt to damage the public sector of the pharmaceutical industry? How it came? Who made it? How they made it? How it was accepted? This is a problem. That's why I say we have to re-evaluate our pathway. Our pathway always was full with deviations from the norms.
Well, that's the problem with deviations. These are just, they bring the industry down.
I'll tell you, just 2 years ago, when the Minister of Education at that time, his name is Dr. Hussam Isa, he was looking to have, it was not in his mind, the pharmaceutical industry, but to have a system that really brings research into industry in general.
And that should happen. That should be the way.
And then he asked many of the elite and the various seniors in Egypt, and they said to him, okay, go to this man. I was at that time teaching in Eritrea, you see. And he contacted me. Please, Rauf, come. Many are proposing you as a candidate to make this connection. We discussed and we preferred to start with the pharmaceutical industry. We did some work, but I will not also mention the details, but it happened to see that there is resistance in the pharmaceutical industry to go for research. And
Why?
Same reasons like Dr. Ahmed said. We don't have money, you see, but always they don't have money, but they don't think to work together. If you don't have money,
other countries... Is teamwork in Egypt the natural one? It is. We hate each other, we don't work, we don't work.
Just to clarify the situation. Because in this country, in Egypt, we always want to reinvent the wheel.
Yes, you're right.
I want to understand. I'm totally accepting the idea of Dr. Rauf is to have a consortium.
But you're so pessimistic,
No, this looks like a brilliant idea.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I can't see this idea applied in any country in the world. So there is something that makes this idea, this brilliant idea, is not applicable.
Yes.
Because it's against the nature of the business itself. In every country in the world where the research is there and the flourishing and the growing and everything. If you look to this, it's a matter of the business of the pharmaceutical company individually.
Okay.
We haven't seen the big companies collaborating together in order to have a center to make this. And we have already similar trials happened in this country. In the public sector companies, they initiated the company for this research and development. With a budget, it's a silly budget, £2 million. It will not make anything. Roughly, in order to develop a new product in the pharmaceutical world, you can see the figure reached to about $1 billion. $1 billion. This is a hell of a lot of money which is not affordable by any of the pharmaceutical companies in Egypt, or even if they are collectively work together. It's not also the matter of money only. It's a matter of infrastructure, which is not available. If we look to the world, how many countries in the whole world make a real research in the pharmaceutical industry to develop new products? The only thing, if we cannot produce a fully new product from the scratch until we reach to a new invention, we can do some sort of development in the pharmaceutical products. We can work on the formulation, for example. We can work on the ways of the drug delivery system. But even these techniques, if you know nowadays in the government, in the Ministry of Health, if you make any advancement in these areas that's not already there in any of the countries, we have 23 reference countries that the government or the Ministry of Health will look to these countries. If this form is not registered in any of these 23 countries, they will not allow you to register this product. So by any way, if you even invested the money to develop
Doing
a new
something, you
formulation,
cannot get a
you
result
cannot
out of
take
it.
it to the market, you cannot make a revenue back from the investment you invested.
Okay, well, I will take a call here and then, go back to this, then what to do, in order to solve this problem, again, with the policies, and then, your answer, sir. We have with us online Dr. Hafiz, Medicine Section Head at the Medicine Manufacturing Chamber. Hello, sir. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir. With the problems in the medicine and pharmaceuticals industry, how do you see the future, since we seem to be retreating back and prices hiking with the dollar and some medicines disappearing from the market? How do you see it's going to fare vis-a-vis the foreign expensive medicines in the market?
First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for calling me and also for your team again. Attending the project. So the pharmaceutical industry is one of the oldest industries all over the region, not only in Egypt but also all over the Middle East. Actually, the pricing system, which is obligatory, of course, since more than 60 years ago, suffered from the obligation of the pricing system. 30 years ago, the pricing mechanism does not increase anymore, it does not reprice again since more than 25-30 years ago. It means that the cost of the hard currency or the valuation of the hard currency has been changed several times over the 30 years before, but unfortunately the Ministry does not respond to this devaluation of the Egyptian pound. Even the hard currency is increased and the Egyptian pound is increased. So, if you would like to imagine that an industry depends on the R&D, research and development, how they can continue, and this pressure is increased day by day and year by year. How we can still working and how we can still doing our mission to manufacture a good quality and safe product to the Egyptians, not only to the Egyptians, but we are exporting our products to more than 75 countries worldwide.
Yes.
So this problem or this issue actually is a political one. There is no political decision was taken in such case to develop this system. Especially when they are all of them are straight from the media. When they would like to move on a little bit upon the devaluation of the Egyptian pound, the media is actually handling this issue and defending the poor people. And this is true. The poor people will actually suffer from not increasing the price a little bit, because if they didn't actually have the product with the economic price, they will find the direction with the product with the high price.
Dr. Hafiz, unfortunately, running out of time. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll be discussing more about that. We do have 3 minutes left. Would you please do comment on that?
Yes, okay. Let me comment on the most strategic point, which is the development of the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, working together among the pharmaceutical companies, even the international pharmaceutical companies, now is a habit. And they make consortia together to make certain product, to make certain technology. You see,
What about then, they're not allowing certain medicine if it's not,
this is one point. And I shall come to this.
Yes.
This second point, actually, not necessarily to start with a research that costs $1 billion to have a new chemical entity, but we can start by many type of researches that can make development. You see, the point number three, this point perhaps, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, this is now the operational way or bureaucratic way in the Ministry of Health. But this even was not present 20 years ago.
Okay.
So why this development didn't happen back 20 years ago?
Okay.
And I'm sure If we make development, we can change the bureaucratic rules of the Ministry of Health.
Okay, one last word because we have 1 minute, sir.
I think now at the final word, the pricing issue is a very critical issue. It's life of death.
Yes.
We need the government to take a decision. We need them to have the courage to take the right decision right now.
Okay.
I think the media should support them because this is in the favor of the country as a whole.
Okay, Dr. Ahmed Zahrous, thank you very much for being with us. And Professor Mohammed Raouf Hamid, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for the other guests. This is not enough time, of course, for us. There'll be more. We'll see what happened. That hopefully, the government starts taking serious steps and corrective ways in order to correct the whole situation, or let's say, rectify it. Otherwise, we're going to. I have to sign off right now and leave you with my colleague Nermin Abdulrahman with the latest in the stock market. May God help and preserve Egypt, Egyptians, our president and our Egyptian army. God bless everyone. We'll see you next week. I'm Nermin Nazim signing off. Goodbye for now.
Engineer Sharif Ismail said Egypt government targets to reduce the current budget deficit to 8% from 11.5% of gross domestic product, the GDP. This target is part of a government program aiming further to raise savings and investment rates for bridging the funding gap, boosting economic growth rate by 6% in 2 years, and decreasing inflation rate to 9% from 11%. The country's budget deficit for the fiscal year 2015-2016 is estimated at 251 billion Egyptian pounds, or 8.9% of GDP. The Prime Minister assured that the government has no intention to sell public sector companies, but it plans to reform and effectively run them for bringing revenues through floating some of them. The Egyptian exchange finished Thursday's trading session on a strong note as EGX indices collectively moved up to higher levels. The benchmark added 257 points, or 3.56%, to reach 7,485.69 points, powered by the purchases of institutions. By nearing the level of 7,500 points, thus it registered the highest level since 8 November 2015. Likewise, the equal-weighted EGX 50 rose 2.54% to 1,373.65 points. The small and mid-gap EG70 edged up 0.17% to 361.79 points, and the broader index EGX 100 ended the session higher 1.88% to 783.7 points. Russian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said that there had been positive cooperation between Moscow and Cairo on resuming flights between the two countries during talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that they had agreed to make efforts on resuming direct flights between Russia and Egypt in the shortest possible period of time. Lavrov added at a news conference that flights would be resumed if the highest level of security was provided. Egypt key interest rates are expected to be increased 0.5 to 1% by the Monetary Policy Committee tomorrow after the Central Bank of Egypt, the CBE, devalued the pound to 8.85 per dollar on the 14th of March. Rami Arabi, an economic expert, expected to push key interest rates up by 0.5 to 1% on the 17th of March, clarifying that the CBE acts on confronting an expected increase in inflation after Monday's devaluation. Hani Farhat, a senior economist, anticipated benchmark interest rates to rise by also 0.5 to 1%. Earlier in 2016, the central bank said that consumer price index monthly rose in February 1.1% month-on-month to 177.4 points. Meanwhile, the annual CPI fell in February to 9.5% compared with 10.7% in January 2016. Signed a 30 million Kuwaiti dinars loan with the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development. This is the second loan signed between Egypt and Kuwait, funded to help finance Egypt's South Hilwan power project worth $1.7 billion. The agreement was sealed by Egyptian Minister of International Cooperation Sahar Nasr and Abdul Wahab Ahmed al-Badr, Director General of Kuwait Fund, in the presence of Egyptian Minister of Electricity Dr. Mohammed Shakir al-Marqabi. Minister Nasr said the Kuwaiti loan is of 2.5% interest per year with a 5-year grace period to be paid over 20 years. The project will add around 1,950 megawatts to Egypt's national grid. As the popularity of private taxi companies rises, white taxi drivers have launched numerous campaigns to regain the trust of passengers. Amid fears of losing income and profits being channeled out of the Egyptian economy, drivers feel these private companies are pulling the rug from under their feet. On the flip side, some ministers believe the public are voting with their feet, looking to private companies for safe, reliable services that white taxis often fail to provide. Chairman of Suez Canal Economic Zone Ahmed Darwish signed a letter of intent with the Singaporean company High Flux Limited to establish an electricity power plant and a water desalination station in Al Ain Al-Sukhna port. The reported value of the tentative agreement is $500 million. The capacity factor of the power station will be 457 megawatt, while the water desalination station will have a capacity factor of 150,000 cubic meters. The construction period for both projects is estimated to be between 20 and 28 months. Dubai's inflation rate rose 1.43% year-on-year in February 2016. The inflation increase is mainly attributed to a rise in tuition fees, which pushed the education group to add 4.83%. The Emirates' monthly inflation rate fell 0.22% in February 2016. It shrank month over month after prices of the transportation and food and beverage declined by 2.79% and 0.68% respectively. Oil output freeze agreement signed by Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Qatar and Russia last month in Doha will have little impact on global oil supplies, as the countries covered by this agreement will freeze their output at high levels. Russian Energy Minister announced that more than 15 countries are willing to join the agreement, pointing out that this obligation may freeze 73% of oil supplies in the world. Oil production freeze can contribute in controlling a small part of expected oil production increase, likely to allow Iraq and Iran production on the grounds that they produce less than their full capacity. Saudi's decision to enhance its production in 2015 led to a drop in oil prices in the second half of last year. Officials held off from raising borrowing costs and scaled back forecasts for how high interest rates will rise this year, citing the potential impact from weaker global growth and financial market turmoil on the U.S. economy. The Federal Open Market Committee kept the target range for the benchmark federal funds rate at 0.25% to 0.5%. The central bank said that in a statement following a two-day meeting in Washington. European shares opened lower, snapping Monday's upward trend. The Stoxx Europe 600 index fell 0.79% to 341.94 points, and UK's FTSE 100 declined 0.59%. Germany's DAX lost 0.34% and France's CAC 40 was 0.57% down. Investors are anticipating the U.S. Federal Reserve to announce its decision about the latest monetary developments on Wednesday. Shutting down for a week as the government struggles with a deepening electricity crisis. Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro gave everyone an extra 3 days off work next week, extending the two-day Easter holiday. Maduro had originally said over the weekend that the extended holiday would only apply to state employees. The government has rationed electricity and water supplies across the country for months and urged citizens to avoid waste as Venezuela endures a prolonged drought that has slashed output at hydroelectric dams. Gold price saw a slide of 0.5% to $1,255 an ounce. This price fall is synchronized with expectations that European Central Bank may ease monetary policy this week and push interest rate down. However, the current downfall is deemed a natural process of profit-taking that will never crack gold's throat as investors' safe haven, namely amid the present withering economic situation. Technically, gold price is moving up until the end of the first quarter of the year, targeting the level of 1,300 and then 1,400.